Good morning. Thank you for being present at the moment for this session. We'll start it straight away. We have Mr. Patrick Hartley, who will be making a presentation which will comprise an overview of the current status of Australia's hydrogen industry. A bit on his bio. Patrick is the leader of CSIRO's hydrogen industry mission. In 2018, he established CSIRO's Hydrogen Energy Systems Future Science Platform. This major initiative focuses on addressing research challenges which underpin the development of hydrogen energy value chains in Australia. Patrick graduated with a PhD in chemical engineering from Imperial College, London. Patrick has occupied senior research management roles in CSIRO since 2006. If you could take the stage. Thanks, Patrick.
Well, thanks, Julie, and thanks everybody for joining. I think this is, as I understand it, quite a new innovative session for the conference. So I'm looking forward to being the first, speaker of this sort at the conference. The brief really today for me was to try and give a bit of an overview of where hydrogen is at in Australia. I've been sort of actively involved in helping develop the Australian hydrogen industry for, well, five, 6 years now, and also research prior to that. I'm going to give you a bit of a feel for that, and then I'm going to give you a very high-level overview of what the CSIRO hydrogen industry mission is about, what we're trying to do. And hopefully, the talks that follow me, you'll see CSIRO sort of weaving its thread through many of the activities, specifically relating to aviation and defence. So I'll kick straight off. So appreciating that hydrogen might be quite a new topic for people in the audience, I've got a 101 slide here, which really speaks to the opportunity for hydrogen. So what is hydrogen? Well, anybody who's even got school-level chemistry will know it's the lightest, most abundant element in the universe and on Earth. But unfortunately, it only exists on Earth and in our atmosphere in very tiny quantities as a free gas. But there's lots of it attached to other chemical moieties in the environment. So basically, in order to get hydrogen, you more or less definitely have to crack it from another molecule of some sort. And those molecules include some things like our fossil fuels, natural gas and petrol, etc., but also things like water. And so if you're going to crack hydrogen from water, of course, there's no carbon dioxide produced. If you're going to crack hydrogen from fossil fuels, then you have to do something with the carbon dioxide that's liberated through that process. You need energy to extract, to perform those cracking reactions. You need energy to perform them, so you put energy in. It's not a native, as I said, very importantly, not a natively occurring energy source. It's an energy carrier. You put energy into it, and to make hydrogen in its molecular form, H2, the gas. But really importantly, hydrogen stores this energy very effectively. So once you've produced that hydrogen, you can actually liberate it from the hydrogen molecule very effectively. And so you can use hydrogen as an energy carrier. And again, as I mentioned, in the reverse reaction to producing hydrogen, if you react hydrogen in almost all of the chemical reactions that you use it, you combine it with oxygen to produce water. So no greenhouse gas emissions. So it's really important that's the key point about hydrogen is there are no greenhouse gas emissions at the point of use. And that's why, really, hydrogen is being pursued as an alternative energy carrier in a whole range of industrial applications. And really importantly, there's nothing new about using hydrogen. Hydrogen has been used extensively in industrial processes such as fertilizer production, actually explosives production, for many years, more than a century. So it's not a completely new. Handling hydrogen is not a new challenge. Okay, what I'm going to do now is just give you the overview of our mission, which speaks a little bit about what the mission's trying to do from a high-level perspective. So I'll just run this animation. Hopefully this is going to work.
Tackling climate change means we have to work hard to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. We've made huge strides in the use of renewables to produce electricity, but some sectors are harder to decarbonise. This is where hydrogen comes in. Hydrogen can be used in a variety of industrial and domestic applications. Importantly, whenever it's used, it produces no greenhouse gas emissions. Australia is perfectly positioned to establish hydrogen export supply chains, which presents real opportunities. It's estimated that a clean Australian hydrogen industry could create 8,000 new jobs, generate $11 billion in GDP a year, and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So, with a strong global market pull, technological readiness, and an appetite for the potential of hydrogen, we're at a critical stage. Challenges remain, however. Hydrogen is still expensive to produce relative to current fuels, and using it requires new technology and infrastructure. CSIRO's Hydrogen Industry Mission has been created to help focus research and development on solving these challenges to accelerate the development of Australia's domestic and export hydrogen industries. With our partners, we're supporting hydrogen knowledge sharing, informing best practice through feasibility studies, demonstrating hydrogen technologies and infrastructure, and delivering practical research, which helps de-risk hydrogen industry investments. The mission's success depends on strong collaboration across industry, research, and government. For more information on how we're looking to collaborate, visit our website.
So that's kind of the rationale behind the mission, and I'll just jump into some more of the things that we're doing. But before I do that, you may ask the question: okay, so hydrogen globally, an interesting fuel, an interesting energy carrier. Why hydrogen for Australia? And I'll just try and answer that question very quickly. The first is that hydrogen, as the video more or less alluded, hydrogen can actually be used in many different energy and industrial sectors. So it can be used to decarbonise industrial processes, electricity systems, transport, mobility, and the real prize for Australia in many ways is the potential for hydrogen actually to be a clean energy carrier, an energy where we can actually export clean energy from produced in Australia in the form of hydrogen around the world to help decarbonise not just our energy system but those of our trading partners, etc. And importantly as well, the opportunities that a hydrogen industry presents are not just in the users and makers of hydrogen. It's actually in the ancillary industries, including my own, research, development and demonstration. But the services industry and the manufacturing industry all stand to have opportunities that creating this new energy industry can bring. The real answer to why Australia, though, is the fact that we can produce a lot of hydrogen. We have, relatively speaking, a small population. We have an enormous potential to produce hydrogen either from renewable energy or from fossil fuels with some form of carbon abatement in place. And so those resources mean we are well positioned to create a huge hydrogen production, which we can use to underpin the development of that export industry. But we very much see the establishment of a domestic hydrogen industry in some of those industry sectors I showed you previously as a nearer term stepping stone to that huge export scale opportunity. Most importantly, perhaps, in recent years, since around about 2017-18, and I've been closely involved in a lot of this work, we've seen the governments across Australia embrace the opportunity to develop this industry in all of our territories and jurisdictions. And so the COAG Energy Council, back in December 2018, agreed to the development of a national hydrogen strategy. You've seen from those scene-setting reports that led to that strategy development process, you've seen all states and territories at least have either a specific hydrogen strategy or have hydrogen as part of their generic energy strategies. And as I mentioned, most importantly, perhaps the national hydrogen strategy was published in 2019 and has been adopted across all of those jurisdictions. So it is an example of an energy policy that has extremely broad support across the political sector in Australia. More recently, we've seen further work to delve down into low emissions technology opportunities. The low emissions technology statement in September 2020 was one of those. That was where the phrase H2 under 2 for Australia was coined. What that means is a specific goal of developing hydrogen at a production cost of less than $2 a kilogram. The reason that's important is because if we can get hydrogen to that cost, it means we can actually open up all of those industry sectors that I showed you previously, because it becomes competitive against all of the other fuels that we currently use, and importantly allows us to reduce emissions through the use of hydrogen, of course. Following the strategies, that's the strategy work, that's the big picture and the commitments. That's been followed with quite significant numbers of funding announcements across the state and federal governments and government agencies, etc., including our own, of course, in developing a mission. And so you can see, and that's probably an incomplete list. I mean, I think it's probably the order of about $1.5 billion has gone into this hydrogen industry journey so far, and there's new programs coming online all the time across all of our jurisdictions. Most recently, there a program which is now open for joint collaboration in industry development with Germany. And so really, I guess, the dollars backing up the strategy commitments that were made previously. In terms of actually what's happening on the ground, we've developed as part of our knowledge sharing initiatives within the mission in CSIRO with our partners. We've developed High Resource, which is essentially a database of all of the hydrogen industry projects that are across Australia. I really encourage you to take a look at that if you're interested to know more about who's doing what in the industry sector for hydrogen development. Around about 87 projects currently on that database, more coming all the time. That database is constantly being updated. It's very current. We're very proud of the fact that we've got resources working on it all the time. Very tired and stretched resources as more and more of these projects come online, I've got to say. And importantly, all of those end-use opportunities that I spoke about are actually represented across those different projects across the whole of Australia. So the export opportunities, gas networks, decarbonising natural gas networks, using hydrogen in mobility, in electricity systems, and in industrial processes. I guess encouragingly as well, we're starting to see the development of small to medium-sized enterprises, spin-off companies, startups in this space, developing new technology, commercialising new technology from organisations like ourselves, as well as the university sector and other research partners in this exploit. International players, major international energy companies are involved in really exploring joint opportunities to develop those large-scale projects that are really necessary to build hydrogen demand to stimulate the growth of the industry. And that international investment is really coming in place now, and you're going to see quite a few announcements in that space very soon. So that was basically all I had to say. That's the mission on a page. Some of the activities we're doing. And really trying to target what does the industry need. So trusted analysis, technology and commercialization, deployment and support, and of course new innovation, new technologies. And you're going to hear some of the work across these areas later in this session. Those are our mission pillars and how they connect to those industry needs. So knowledge centre, helping understand opportunities for government and defence for that matter, and demonstration projects and enabling science and technology. And just some examples of the work that we've done on National Hydrogen Roadmap back in 2018. We're building hydrogen infrastructure. We're in the process of building a hydrogen refuelling system at our site in Melbourne, and developing new technologies and spinning them off as small companies across Australia. So quite a broad portfolio of projects, around about 85 projects across CSIRO in the hydrogen space, across all of our business units in CSIRO. So a big portfolio, and of course new partnerships coming online all the time. And I think I'm already over my time, so I will stop there. Just a few examples of hydrogen technology. Much of the hydrogen technology actually came from the aerospace industry through the Apollo programs and such like, and you're seeing new technology now coming online in many industrial sectors, as I mentioned. So I'll leave that up for you. Okay, thanks very much.
Fantastic, thanks Patrick. So we've got live Q&A open right now, and we've got a couple of questions. To begin with, how does hydrogen power production compare to nuclear power production?
Very different, yeah. So it's, it's a completely different fuel cycle, obviously. So when you produce hydrogen, you're essentially using either fossil fuel raw materials or water as the fuel and renewable energy. If you're using nuclear energy, you can use the electricity that's produced from that nuclear energy to produce hydrogen, if you so desire. But it's obviously the fuel cycle for nuclear power is very, very different. It's a very much larger, longer-term build for that energy source. So yeah, very different. Very different approach. Yeah.
Fantastic. Do you think green hydrogen's uptake to be predominantly in the energy sector versus the transport sector, noting the reliance in dirty hydrogen to feed the current hydrogen demands?
Yeah, I think so. So we did a lot as part of our national hydrogen roadmap. We did quite an analysis of where we saw the low-hanging fruit for hydrogen, and the mobility sector is and has been the I guess the easiest place for hydrogen to enter the market, mainly because it's displacing expensive fuels like petrol and diesel. So the mobility market is a near-term and it's a scalable demand as well. You can actually build out the infrastructure without huge investment up front. So mobility is certainly a key one. The industrial use of hydrogen is going to be very important for stimulating that demand, but the build, the capex that you're going to have to spend to actually make those changes is perhaps going to be slightly longer term. So you're going to see these things coming online at different times, probably starting with mobility in the near term. But actually in Australia, the gas networks industry is moving very fast to inject hydrogen at a fairly low level, around about 10%, into its gas networks as a way of decarbonising their assets. So you're seeing, it'll be a bit of a staged approach, I think.
Thank you, Patrick. Look, we've run out of time, so thank you very much. If you could put your hands together for Patrick.